everybody. This is Michelle.
And this is Julie. And we are here today in our studio, chit-chatting away.
Yeah.
How's it going?
It's good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Seahawks have a bye this week, so we're recording in the middle of the day on a Sunday.
And you know what we did yesterday was pretty special.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Tell everybody. Tell everybody.
So,
I mean, they might think it's weird, but I don't.
I don't think it's...
We'll put pictures up.
Yeah, I don't... We actually already did.
Yeah, I know, but when we post the episode, yeah.
No, we have a little area out in the back garden that has been dedicated to the dogs. Julie has a handful.
Well, I've been saving them.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a pet cemetery, not like Stephen King's Pet Cemetery, but we got rocks from the river and then from the beach down in Richmond Beach. And we had these little plaques made for each dog. And so some of you guys might know that Michelle lost Lotto not that long ago. And so I surprised her and got her the coolest little plaque. And it has his picture on it.
Yeah, it's just gorgeous.
Such a sweetheart.
Yeah.
But he's the man of the house. So he got the one with the picture. The other ones are mine, Sophie, Lambo, and Gia. And they've all been gone for a while. So I've had their ashes just sitting in the closet. My mom had Sophie because Sophie was the OG. She'd been around for a long time. So my mom kept her ashes. I don't know if she thought I was going to lose them or what, but...
Kept her ass. It sounded like you were going to say asses.
They kept her asses. Yeah. Michelle put it up on our story just so you guys could kind of see what we're doing. But we'll post some pictures when we put this episode out.
Yeah.
So we're going to put an episode today out for all of you listeners on
bullies.
Goddamn bullies. Okay, specifically though, I mean, we all know there's kid bullies, right?
Well, I just now in that moment thought of Nellie on Little House on the Prairie.
Oh, she was a total bully. The one with the little blonde ringlets.
Yes.
She was a biatch, that girl.
Yeah.
There's usually a protagonist and an antagonist, in any of those like books or shows. And yeah, she was
a bully.
She was a total bully. So as we all know, kid bullies have a lot of stuff going on that make them bullies.
Yeah.
And a lot of it's insecurity, or they're not, there might be other shit going on. Who knows? One of my kids was a little bit of a bully when he was younger. And I think that was, okay, now it's one of the boys. But anyway, I think that he was struggling with a lot of stuff and it kind of came out in that way. And he's not a bully anymore. So I'm very grateful.
Far from it.
Now, yeah, he's so sweet now. But kid bullies grow up into adult bullies. And we don't really talk about how this impacts people as adults or what they're dealing with. I mean, we've talked about, well, we'll get into it a little bit, but usually it's the workplace a lot of the time, or in family dynamics. You might run across that too, where you've got one sibling or the dad or the mom or whatever that are kind of bullying to the other people. But we are going to talk about the different types of bullies, and you will see if any of this resonates with you. And then after that, we want to talk about what you can do to kind of combat some of that.
I was just, before we started recording, I was telling Julie, I think in the adult arena, you could replace the word bully with harassment.
Yeah.
I think you hear a lot about bullying nowadays. I'm going to use that term. But I think there is so much of it out there.
I know.
Harassment and bullying. Yeah.
Well, it's a control thing. You find people that are bullying. It's usually because they are really persistent about wanting to get something the way they want it to be.
I was just going to say their way.
Their way, yeah. My way or the highway. And so there's a lot of personality traits that probably go along with bullies, but they're really just adult kids, have probably experienced it themselves, and they haven't broken the pattern. Or they've experienced it, then they were bullies and now they're adult bullies. But it really kind of comes into play in different types of scenarios when you're a grown up, because you're having to behave really probably differently in order to be even accepted in society. You can't act like an immature child, but you might do things that are bullying types of behaviors that would be a little bit more, I wouldn't say accepted, but not surprising, tolerated. Yeah. Yeah. And you've seen that. Some of you may have seen that in your workplaces where you've had bosses that have, demeaned or belittled the coworkers, and nobody really says anything because they don't want to get fired.
Yeah.
There's others that will stand up and they might get fired, but who the hell would want to work for somebody like that anyway?
Awful.
Yeah.
That would really be awful.
I never have really had a boss that's been a bully.
I have.
Have you?
Mm-hmm.
So tell me the scenario.
I mean, it was just this person, I'm not even going to say he or she, but this person just was very manipulating in their behavior and the way that they would more so dictate, but make themselves appear to be the opposite. It was quite aggravating. It was really frustrating, and it was very challenging to work there.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. I think I know which one she's talking about. Nordstrom. Nordstrom. There's a lot of people that are not bullies at Nordstrom, but this particular person I think was. So what you see with adult bullies is that there is an ongoing pattern of the behavior. And okay, I told Michelle, I promise I won't bring it up more than once, but we have a president. We have a president who is one of the biggest bullies. No, not now. He's not.
Did we?
He falls asleep at the podium. But no, we did. One of the biggest bullies I've ever seen. Oh my God. I just cannot even, I just am amazed at the shit that guy gets away with. He's like Teflon, everything slides off of him because people don't want to, they don't want to disagree with him. He'll just talk louder, or he'll fire them, or, he'll make some disparaging comments about them in public. Or, I mean, he's just done some horrible, horrible things. He's a total bully. I mean,
might even grab your pussy.
Yeah, he might. He better not be grabbing mine. He's going to be in big trouble if he does that. I don't find that man attractive anyway.
Nope.
Anyway, different types of bullies. So let's talk about that. What's the first one we have here?
Verbal.
Okay.
Verbal bully, which intentionally harm people with their words. Verbal bullying may include subjecting a target to insults, harsh criticism, or persistent teasing, and in some cases might even threaten to use racist, misogynistic, homophobic, or other intimidating offensive language.
Okay, that has 45 all over it, but that's just all I'm going to say. So you might see this with parents. I mean, I have seen this with parents, who've told their kid they're stupid or why don't you? It just breaks my heart when I have heard about that kind of stuff, but it happens all the time. But that adult parent is not parenting really. They're demeaning their kid and they're bullying their kid, frankly. So you wonder why the kid ends up being a bully, and then grows up into one. It's like I said, kind of cyclical. So that parent may have been bullied by their parents or kids or whatever, when they were younger. So the verbal bully, so they've got something to say and it's usually not really positive and it's disparaging toward whomever they are targeting.
I think we all probably know somebody like that.
Yeah.
Or have witnessed.
So I would find with myself that I would be like literally turning around and just going, I'm not going to even deal with that person.
Yeah.
I might have a few choice words with them. Oh, kind of like, I was telling you about this was just a couple of days ago, this gentleman who was wanting to see the place that I have listed.
Geez.
Oh, my stars. I could not believe what that guy was saying. And then he says, and he was telling me how, this is all in text, how he's so wealthy that he will never experience poverty and don't contact me. I now just bought my $2.7 million house that's by Oprah's house in, I don't know, Montana or somewhere. And my only response to him was people who have money, it doesn't mean because you have money that you have good character. Yeah. And I don't want anything to do with you. Don't contact me again. So
Damn.
I mean, it's like, and I'm in sales. So it's like, but there's just, I'm not tolerating that shit at all. And I've definitely had clients like that have been that way. And I've learned how to work around some of those things because sometimes you are going to deal with it. You're not going to always deal with nice people, but verbally abusive language or trying to force you into doing something or teasing you to the point where you will conform to whatever it is that they're asking.
These are the Karens out in the world.
Thank you.
Right?
Yeah.
This is what we're talking about.
Yeah.
I'm sitting here thinking about as you're saying these things, and you mentioned being in sales. And of course, I was in sales for a long time, and we both waited tables for a long time. All of those industries, I think, unfortunately, have to deal with verbal bullies
or, sexual harassment or, those are whole other things. But the Karens of the world this is exactly what it is. The only difference with Karen is that it's the stereotype. Of us, basically. But feeling like they've got the authority and the power to put someone in their place or to tell someone what to do or to complain about somebody, usually a person of color is what it ends up being. That's kind of how it started. Like they have the right to do that. So they feel privileged or entitled to be able to do that. So, but they're flat out bullies. Yeah. They're just bullies no matter what. For
sure.
So what about the passive aggressive adult bully?
That can be an adult's way to lash out at others indirectly. Right. Gossiping, jokes that aren't really tasteful or that can be hurtful.
And it's like, what are you talking about? Don't be so sensitive. I'm just joking.
I know, right? Yeah. Sarcasm. To attack. People who engage in this behavior often deny that they're doing it or doing anything wrong, which can make the bullying victim doubt their own feelings.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is also a tiny bit like gaslighting, because they're doubting themselves based on some of these bullying remarks.
I mean, I was at Costco today and the lady was like, you must have a big family. And then I was like, then I started doubting. I'm just saying that because of doubting yourself. I started doubting myself on
how many people are in?
Am I buying too much? Anyways, but
isn't that funny? Just on a side note that they're actually commenting on what you're getting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, Costco,
it's really fun when they do that when you buy something that's embarrassing.
Buy a lot. Oh, yeah.
Here's Michelle rolling up with 6 bottles of wine. What? It's not all for me.
I have a big family.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Yeah. So passive aggressive, just, inadvertently or around the topic or not directly to your face, but they're saying shit behind your back.
There's probably a lot of that goes on in the workplace too.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah. The whole passive, especially, and making people feel just like to that point, doubting how they're handling something or doubting what they did, that kind of stuff because of passive aggressive behavior.
Well, and again, that is a communication style that I personally have been accused of that.
I have too.
Yeah. And I think there are definitely things about passive aggressive behavior that are formed from how you've grown up.
Yeah.
Like, or how you've had to maneuver through different things, like getting my mom would be like, you need to do this, this, and this in order to get this done. You need to go around and do it this way. It's like totally, I better not talk about this, huh? Like how I would manipulate my husband into thinking that it was his idea to buy something.
Oh,
that kind of thing.
I think a lot of women do that.
I know. Or a lot of women leave their credit card bill at like Nordstrom. They would have it sent to the store.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother story.
That's a whole, yeah.
Or they'd say, this whole thing? It's like, what are you talking about? I didn't get something new. This whole thing,
Yeah.
So anyway, the physical adult bully, that's pretty straightforward. That's someone who will smack or beat up on someone else. Or the intimidation factor, getting in their face. Or, if they're taller or bigger, it's like getting in their face and it's kind of like a dare.
Yeah.
Almost.
And the next side, what are you going to do?
Yeah. The neck's going in different circles and everything. I mean, women do it too.
Yeah.
And it's, all about what you will quote tolerate or not tolerate. And so they're in other people's faces that way. Usually, you can see alcohol playing a role in that a lot of the time. Or, you
get pretty brave.
You've
been drinking.
It's called liquid courage.
Yeah.
I think.
Liquid courage.
Yeah. You do a lot of things when you have liquid courage.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe some we won't discuss today, but I'm just kidding. Liquid courage just makes you, there's people that have liquid courage and then there's people that they're sad when they have liquid or they're happy or they're crying.
Interesting, all the different, like when you've been drinking, it's like, what kind of drunk are you?
Right.
Because to your point,
Yeah.
the ones that get real ballsy and feel like they can take on the world.
Yeah.
There's the ones that get funny.
Yeah.
There's those that
mean,
get sad, like all different. It's
on a little side note on that one, which kind of ties into the adult bullying. I used to know this woman who was physically abused by her husband. You know, he kind of abused the kids too, or the kid, I should say the kid too. But she would do things like get drunk. She would drink and she would go like do crazy things like get in guys' cars and give them blowjobs and stuff.
Oh my gosh.
Like that. She turned into like a complete slut when she probably didn't even remember it. Well, the husband would figure it out. And of course she'd get her the sense knocked out of her when she got home.
Gosh.
So you can see that's how he handled it.
Yeah.
When clearly she had a huge problem with alcohol and needed to have something done so these things wouldn't continue. And he had a huge problem with alcohol too. But anyway, he was a bully, and that's what he did. He would push her in the corner, intimidate her.
I just can't imagine being in a relationship like that. I mean,
that really speaks to, you know, her self-esteem and what she was dealing with. And, you know, maybe she was afraid to leave.
Right.
Yeah.
There's all those things.
Yeah. That's a rabbit hole topic that I've never personally experienced that, but I know people that have, and it's very difficult to know what to do if you're not the victim of that, you know, or if you are a survivor of that, how you change your behavior and choose people that aren't that way. Yeah. Because that's probably what you know.
Right.
You know, kind of like if I'm dating someone, it's probably not going to be a cop.
Probably not.
No. Or someone who's kind of more conservative in their values and listens to all country music or something. I just probably wouldn't.
Or voted for 45.
Yeah.
Yeah. Probably not.
Hence, I'm divorced. Just kidding. Okay. So what about the tangible material adult bully?
That's a mouthful.
I know. You probably should just read this one.
This is adults who engage in tangible bullying, have power or authority over their victims. A bully could be a boss, manager, have material power like financial control, or even you may feel helpless if your bully is someone who holds power over you. Yeah.
And so you would see this in a workplace probably, or in relationships. You know, if you've got an individual who is controlling in a relationship and doesn't let you have money, or keeps track of how far you go in your car, or, I mean, that could be a lot of other things too. But
again, the harassment.
Yeah.
You bring that word into it. Yeah.
Or, you know, domestic issues we're talking about. But adult bullying in that regard is basically just having control over you and not allowing you to have a voice. Yeah. Or if you have a voice, they talk louder over your voice. Yeah. So did you know that 40% in this one particular survey that was completed in October of last year, there was 40% of adults said that they have experienced online harassment. And in some cases, that harassment evolved into cyberbullying. So cyberbullying is a whole nother thing, because you've got people sitting behind a keyboard and they feel very brave. Yeah. And they will say horrible, awful, awful things to people, but they're not in their face. They're not talking to them. They're not in their face. There's this one song by Macklemore where he's talking about this, because he was talking about how people in the hip hop world were really horrible to people that were gay. And they were saying awful things about people that were gay. Yet there were so many people that were in the hip hop world that were, but they didn't treat them well. They were bullying them, you know, and a lot of it was done through the computer. It's in one of his songs. It's one of the raps in one of his songs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, of course I remember that. So I guess it happens everywhere. I mean, but cyberbullying is, I mean, there is so much out there, and, you know, there's people out there trying to get other people to commit suicide or to take drugs or to do things, and, you know, pushing them and saying, your family doesn't care about you. You know, nobody cares about you. I'm the only one that cares about you. Those kind of things. And these people will do things they don't even know a person.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like there's such a level of insecurity with that individual, and nobody's paying attention to what's going on with them
because they're predators.
Predators behind closed doors. We talked about the Karens. That's one thing that had come up before. And I would say that's probably the most common thing that people are hearing these days. If you know what a quote Karen is, and for all you women out there named Karen, I'm really sorry. I met a woman the other day named Karen, and she was the nicest lady, but I just couldn't say, wow, how does it feel having that name? I didn't say it. I wanted to, but I didn't. But anyway, those are the kinds of things we run across, I think, more than anything else.
Yeah.
Right now anyway, because I mean, I work independently. I don't work for somebody else. You work in an office environment, but it's very well structured and your boss is very nice.
Yeah.
Shout out to Ouija.
Yeah.
Yeah. Her boss is very nice. And he wouldn't, I imagine, tolerate something like that in your work environment. So what can you do with adult bullies? I mean, how can you handle them?
I think just like listening to you a minute ago in the online bullying, and something that I have experienced, you need to be able to have the courage to block and turn it off.
And not respond.
Definitely. When I was experiencing this, that's exactly what I had to do. And I never felt more free than when I turned it off. You just block it, and then you don't get any of that invading your mental energy. And
you don't have to go, oh God, I don't want to look at my phone, or I don't want to look at the computer because it might be there.
That they control.
Yeah.
When you allow them to do it. And really, if you have the power to turn it off, then you're in control. And that's exactly what you should do. So sorry, I got off on a little tangent there, but no. I mean, that is something, it's something that you can do when it comes to that type regarding technology.
If you're super articulate and able to kind of identify that there's an issue taking place, I would have more pleasure than I could possibly imagine by having that person really feel stupid by not responding.
Yeah.
And for example,
totally.
Yeah. Not responding or killing them with kindness. It's like you kind of use the opposite logic on them. They're ranting and raving about something, like you've got a guy or woman who is ticked off that their tickets aren't working to get into an event or something. Right. And they're beating up the poor person that's at the front door. They don't have anything to do with it.
Right.
It's like, being that, when you're that person, you say, I need you to talk to me in a respectful tone and I can help you.
Yeah.
But if you can't do that, then I really can't help you. And that's all you say.
I mean,
you don't give them sarcasm. You don't snarky.
Right. Because that's like egging them on.
Right.
And you know what I've been doing this last week? Because I was just thinking of road rage.
Oh, yeah.
In regard to this, those are bullies.
Oh, hell yeah, yeah.
And harassing. And we've talked plenty about traffic in Seattle and how much anxiety it can give people. Just this last week, I have started to listen to relaxation. It's a relaxation station on Pandora, right? I'm listening to it in the morning before I go to work. And I am listening to it in the car when I am driving.
You're not meditating though, right?
Not while I'm driving.
Okay,
no.
I'm just checking.
not while I'm driving. It helps enormously with the reactive behavior in the traffic or just in general. I did it today, for example. Like, I love my weekends. I love my music. You know me and my music, right? I'm usually listening to Erykah Badu on Pandora or, all the, 70s
We
funk.
both have tunes going at the same time. And sometimes I can hear her stuff. And not really. I can tell you're playing it. But like
that was this morning. I could tell you were playing music.
I cranked that stuff with my John Legend stuff. Yeah. I was like, God, at least it's good stuff. Hopefully she's awake.
Like today, and I like doing that, especially on the weekends. But today I was going, like I mentioned, to Costco. And when you
were
go
in the gas lane.
When you go to get gas at Costco on a Sunday, I mean, you can plan on a good 30 minutes or maybe less, but it's a thing. So I turned on relaxation music, and and when I'm driving through the parking lot, trying to park and trying to get out of the Costco traffic, it made a difference in how I felt while I was driving and all that, the way I was reacting to anything. I didn't react. I had no reactions to anything. So I don't know why I started with it, but relax. I mean, stuff like that does come into play.
Well, that's your way of rising above it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that makes complete sense. It's your way of rising above it. And, if you get so entangled in what's happening in that day to day, man, it can really bring you down. And you can have people that are, or like, I think I told you, it was a couple episodes ago where we were talking about I was coming back from the airport and this woman, it was like, she was so nasty. These people, they weren't trying to cut in line in front of her, but she got really nasty with them. And they just kind of looked at her, and I looked at her and I was just like, oh, yeah. Oh, not a good look, lady. This is not a good look on you. I mean, you're probably a really nice person and having a shitty day, but it's just not a good look.
Yeah.
And I think the look on the couple's face said it all. They didn't get nasty. They didn't, say anything back to her. They didn't get sarcastic.
But that just makes them look like the idiot.
Yeah.
I mean, truly,
that's
they're
what
the
I'm
bully.
saying.
I know. It's
you just rise above it.
Yeah, for sure.
As hard as it can be.
Yeah.
So depending upon the type of bullying, like you're talking about road rage, I think that's a big thing too. And not just here, but across the U.S. where we've got traffic problems in some of the big major metropolitan areas, you see a lot of this. We've had in the Washington area on the Western Washington side, I think it's been it was maybe a week ago, I heard the statistic. It was like 51 road rage incidents that were just on I-5 in the Snohomish, King, and Pierce, the three counties, and involving guns.
Yeah,
people are shooting at other people. I mean, there's a lot of that stuff going on. So you just don't know what you're dealing with. And I can get mad in the car. I can get really mad in the car, and I can find myself, cussing at, whatever. I'm not screaming at them, but just God, or whatever. And then I stop myself and go, that guy could be like crazy, or on something, or had a bad fight with his girlfriend, and I'm going to be the recipient. So you just have to kind of swallow whatever it is and move on, because you don't want to get yourself in a situation.
Yeah, for sure.
If it's something you have to deal with on a daily basis, then I say, if you're not able to handle it because they are in a position of authority over you, then you find somebody who can help you. And people don't want to, quote, tattle. They don't want to say anything. They don't want to, because they feel like they're being babies or whatever. They're being, I don't know, whiny.
Yeah.
But you're not being whiny, because you bring it to someone's attention in a very diplomatic and non-biased way, not using emotion. You got to take all the emotion out of it and just state the facts. They really don't have any choice but to look into it.
Right.
Because, I mean, honestly, it's not maybe because it's the right thing to do, but maybe they do it because of the liability surrounding it. If there wasn't any liability, they might not touch it. So that's why you have to be your own advocate.
I think too, as a bystander, if you witness this in the workplace or something like that, it's important. I actually heard this term in a training in my work, but support and report.
Okay.
Yeah. So support the people in those situations and, report
the behavior.
When necessary. So,
well, I've been in circumstances like that where I would be one who would have a tendency to probably speak out. And I've done that before when we've had, children that were, getting mishandled or what have you. And there's such a fine line on what you can do and can't do. Now, if I saw something like that, I don't have a corporation over me telling me that's not okay. You can create more problems. We're going to get sued. But let's talk about what's the right thing to do. And if that kid's being manhandled or something, someone's got to do something. That's why those kids are not taken care of or watched after, because people are too afraid. They're too afraid to get, bullied themselves or to get sued or to get, hurt or whatever. So they just, it's not my business, not my business.
Yeah.
And I've seen that I saw someone today who was with two dogs. I think he was training the one dog. He was a big dog. And I was kind of driving. I wasn't driving very fast. I was up on Cap Hill. And he took the dog and he was like shaking the dog's head.
I saw a lady hit her dog today with a leash.
Oh my God. I was pissed. I slowed down.
Yeah. I did the same thing.
Yeah. Slowed down to a crawl and I opened my window and I was like, hey, is everything okay? And he just looked at me so surprised that I even said anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fine. I was like, you might not want to hit your dog.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not being a Karen.
Right.
I'm trying to stick up for a little animal that is a big animal that can't say anything, But it was just like, come on, people. I mean, that's like the ultimate bully is someone who takes and puts themselves on to others that are weaker or smaller or younger or, or disabled or whatever. It's like there's no room for people like that. I have no tolerance for that kind of crap. Don't fuck with me. Just kidding. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
So being a target of a bully can be extremely stressful. So I think it's really important to, kind of figure out what your boundaries are and how you want to manage something. And if managing it means that you ignore it, or like I said, you rise above it or you block it, and maybe that solves the problem. But it might not solve the problem. And so it really does affect your mental health. It affects how you are at home. It affects a lot of different things. And I don't think people really realize that sometimes, there might be stuff going on with the person that you care about and they're not saying anything to you. So anyway.
Especially with kids. I mean, that it really...
So adult bullying, when we're talking about people bullying other adults, there's also adults who are bullying people like in those vulnerable positions.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And taking advantage, or taking out their anger on people who are, I don't want to say less fortunate because that's not what I mean. It's more like people who they have control over and can continue to do that with.
Right.
So
they've essentially, whatever the situation is, they groom them to that point of vulnerability, of fear, and all those things. Yeah.
So you want to be able to really evaluate for yourself what you're comfortable with and really just understand that no one's accepting that as the way it just is, unless you allow that to happen.
Right.
So you have to be your own advocate, or you have to be the advocate for the person that you care about who might not have a voice.
Yeah.
And those are the real critical things about being a strong individual, and you may not have grown up with that type of a background. You may not have really had to deal with anything, but in your gut when something's not right.
Yeah.
And it's important to have a voice.
I helped a friend once get out of her house, her and her daughter.
Domestic.
Yep. It was a domestic situation. And it had to all be planned out when he was going to be gone. And like literally we did not have a lot of time and it was risky and all of that stuff.
I had a situation like that with someone who I worked with, and it was the same thing. The husband she'd try to get out of the car and he'd pull her back in by her hair, and it was just awful. But it was the same thing. It's like there are resources out there. That's domestic violence. It's a little bit different. But I mean, if someone's abusing their spouse or their significant other, they're bullies, obviously. Yeah. But it's taken on a whole nother form.
Right.
So
Anyway,
that's all I have on this topic. This is a short one.
Well, I think too, though, as an adult, when this happens, I would imagine, depending on the situations, but like the domestic violence we were just talking about, I can see where the result of that can cause a lot of distress.
Oh, yeah.
And long-term distress. It can affect your mental health. It can affect someone's confidence long-term, make you anxious, paranoid. All of those things, it can be extremely stressful.
I was just talking with someone today, actually, and she was asking me if we had done an episode on consistent fleeting thoughts that you can't get rid of. And so I was asking her to elaborate on it. And this is exactly what she was talking about. She would have a nightmare about her ex-husband who, she's been gone from him for 30 years, but she would just up and have this. Yeah. And I don't think it was a really great situation. Right. I think he was pretty abusive. And it's like, it shakes her to the core now. Yeah. And this is how many years later, and she's married to the most wonderful man now. It just comes out of nowhere. Yeah. And she's just like, you second guess yourself. You're like, how can I get these thoughts out of my head? I mean, that's kind of something that a therapist might be able to help with. That's what I told her. It's like, that's probably what I would do if it was me. I would try to get the help from someone who was trained on how to approach that and how to, what different tools you might have to deal with those things so you can feel healthy and confident in yourself. But you don't even realize some of this stuff is happening. Yes, PTSD just shows up out of nowhere if you've been in those situations before.
Well, in situations at work and depending on and even in your life personally, I think it's important to seek out a safe space to be able to work through that process. Don't doubt and second guess yourself. If you're feeling uncomfortable by something or some action that somebody is doing that is targeted towards you or at you or said to you,
or towards someone that you care about who doesn't have a voice.
Exactly.
That's the scary part. It's really standing up to that and hoping that you're going to get the support that you need. And it's really surprising how much support is out there.
Yeah.
So it can be from something that you're just dealing with a power hungry boss to something that is more, serious, where someone's laying hands on you or laying hands on someone else, or verbal abuse is so horrible that, it's like you wonder how that person is even living in that situation.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that, there is help.
There is help out there.
Don't be afraid to escalate a situation if you get into that situation or someone that is. Don't be afraid to escalate it.
And you're not alone. It's very common. It's very common. So
in that note,
with that,
God damn it, Michelle, will you just stop talking?
Fuck you.
I know. I just bullied her. I love Michelle. I would never talk to her that way in real life.
Oh.
Anyway, she just told me to fuck off, basically.
Well, yeah.
That's not the first time she's done that. I think she was drinking last time she did it. Just joking.
Yeah, I'm not a mean drunk.
No, she's not. She's a happy one. And she never really gets drunk. It's usually just like happy.
Yeah.
And it's not even that often. We need to have another happy hour soon.
I'm going for sober October.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, in November 1st.
November. Yeah. When all the guys aren't shaving.
Yeah.
And neither are we.
Oh, I am. Oh my God. I'm not falling into No Shave November.
I know. Yeah. All right, everybody.
Well, you can catch us on our socials. I'm going to say that part this time. We've got an email address, blondebrunetteandamic@gmail.com. And of course, we are on TikTok and Facebook and Instagram. And we would love to hear from you. If you have stories or anything that you think would be helpful or pertain to this topic, you can respond just on our socials or private message us.
Yeah.
Yeah. And until next time,
everybody take care and be safe out there.
Peace out. We'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.